Hey, what's up, Nerdgasm fans? Jerry here, aka Barnacules. Now, you guys all know Destiny is coming out tonight. And since Destiny is coming out tonight, I think it's my destiny and my 3D printer's destiny to print something from Destiny.
Destiny.
So for this episode, we're going to be printing the Duke MK.44 Hand Canon. It's one of the starter weapons in the game, and pretty damn badass if I do say so myself.
Now, realistically, the specs on it suck in the game.
But it looks cool, so we're going to print it.
Fire up the printer!
Let's get nerdy. Alright guys, like I said in the intro, we're going to be printing the Duke MK.44 Hand Canon from the Destiny game. Now, I picked up this model from a really cool site I have over here. It's myminifactory.com. Now, the person who created this really awesome model is Kirby Downey. His Twitter's right down there below, so you can go and harass him endlessly. And I thought it was really cool of him to create such a complex model and then just post it up here for free for anybody to download and print.
I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Now, this isn't a simple model. This actually has moving parts on it. I mean, it's basically like a real gun.
I mean, not like a pew-pew real gun.
But realistic. I think it's really cool to see some new sites popping up that are similar to Thingiverse, where people can like trade models and it's like an ecosystem and a community for 3D printing. And I am all for that. All right, guys, well, what do you say? Let's whip us up a little hand cannon. All right, you can see I'm in my favorite slicer right now. This is Cura 14.7 by Ultimaker, but the software is compatible with any G-code capable 3D printer. I just happen to have it set up for my Ultimaker and my Ultimaker Original, but you can pretty much put in any settings for any printer and it works just fine. All right, now to print this gun, it's quite a few parts. So let's go up to File, Load Model. You can see here there are a ton of parts. You need 2 of these body joints. You need the cartridge, chamber pin, the chamber mech, and 2 sides of the barrel and 2 sides of the handle to complete this gun. Now let me go ahead and open up the right handle. Now you can see this thing is very, very large. Now the first thing I noticed was the model, it's upside down. If you try to print it that way, you're going to run into all kinds of problems. So the first thing you're going to want to do is flip this thing over. Much better. Now it's going to print very, very clean because there's no overhangs. Everything's ground up, and that's exactly what you want for this type of 3D printer. Now I did run into a little problem. Let's go ahead and open up the barrel, which is the largest part. So we'll open up the right side of the barrel. And you can see right here, again, you're going to want to flip that over. Now, here's the problem. See how it's gray? It doesn't fit on the build platform. I cannot print that. I tried rotating it. I still can't print it because the build volume of my Ultimaker just is not sufficient to print it at scale. So because of this, I printed everything in 90% scale. So if you just go here and scale it down to 0.9, you can see it now fits diagonally and I can print it. So I'm basically printing the gun at 10% smaller scale than what the original design entails. Now, I don't know what the actual physical scale of this is relative to the game, but I found that printing it 10% smaller, it still fits perfectly in your hand. So now, once you've flipped and scaled those parts down to 90% of their original size, you'll need to print the chamber mech, the chamber, the pin, the cartridge, and 2 body joints. So let's go ahead and open all those up because you can print them all at the same time. Again, you're going to want to rotate the models so that they're in their best orientation for printing and scale them appropriately. Now, you don't want to rotate it this way. You're going to want to rotate it down since it has holes in the bottom. You're going to want the bottom to print since it's hollow. That's the best orientation to print in right there. Now do the same thing for everything else. Scale it down to 90%. Same with the mech. We're going to want to lay that flat and scale it. Same thing for this guy. Let's go ahead and scale him down. And last but not least, the pin, which we're going to want to rotate because if you print it in that orientation, it'll never work. And scale it. Make sure that you scale all the parts identically or you're going to have problems fitting them together. Trust me on this. Now, you're going to want 2 of these pieces. So the cool thing in Cura is you can just right-click and say multiply object by 1, and it'll give you a duplicate. So now you can see I can just set that up and print all that stuff overnight. All right, as for settings, we're going to be printing this at a 0.1 millimeter layer height with the default 0.8 millimeter shell thickness. Fill density of 20%, which is decent for something like this. And we're going to do a print speed of 80 millimeters per second because I find that gives me like a really good quality on the Ultimaker. Now, feel free to play with your settings because your environment, humidity, temperature, all that stuff plays a part in it, even your particular machine. So you may have to tinker around with it to get the best possible print, but I urge you to do so. All right, let's take this over to the 3D printer. All right, guys, we have all the pieces off the printer. Now, the total print time was right around 20 hours printing at 0.1 millimeters. I could have printed at a lower resolution, but I wanted these to turn out really good. Now, you can see I have both pistol grips. I have both barrels printed. I even have the revolver chamber printed, the round that goes in the revolver chamber. I have the little recognition pieces to line everything up and glue it together. And I have the mechanical piece for actually pulling the cylinder out. So let's go ahead and clean all these parts up and assemble it. Now, it's perfectly normal when you 3D print something to have some little defects, some stringing, some little pieces of filament that get out of place, or have like a little lip where it presses that first layer into the build platform. So I like to clean all that stuff up when I'm done printing, and I put together a little kit to do it. Here I just have a couple little HDX hand files that I picked up from Harbor Freight. They're just tiny, tiny little files that are different shapes and sizes that allow you to get in all the little crevices. And I've got a larger rasp file for taking the edge off things a little bit more area at a time. And last but not least, I just have a piece of sandpaper here. It looks like it's 100 grit sandpaper, and I just use this for smoothing out some flat surfaces. All right, well, let's start cleaning it up. All right, that piece is looking good. Now I'm gonna repeat the process for the rest of these pieces. All right, so now all the parts are clean. It took me about 10 minutes. I went through and just cleaned all the little edges off stuff, and there's a couple little rough patches that I could probably fix up before I paint it. But I just wanted to get everything to where it would like fit together and all the little contact surfaces were cleaned out. Now I'm gonna put the thing together using hot glue, and the reason for using hot glue is it's easy to take apart if I screw up. If I super glue it, it's gonna be a nightmare. So I figured we'll start with the hot glue. All right, now we're ready for assembly. I tried using the directions that came with it, and it gave me some problems. So I found the easiest way to put it together is take one of the little triangle pieces, put it in the barrel, and then put the barrel together like this, side by side, and then take and push the little pin that comes with it, that little pen thing that we printed, push that down through the bottom right there, and then put the little cam piece on it, like so, and then feed that over the two little halves that come together to hold it. And then attach the handle. It has a little notch that locks in right there at the top. We want to attach the other handle. Now we still need to glue it, but there you have it. Now that I know it fits together properly, I'm going to glue it. And then this, the revolver mechanism, pops out the side like that. Take your round, put it in there, just like that, and close it up.
Pew 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 pew.
What I am going to do for the revolver piece, though, is I'm going to put just a tiny, tiny little drop of silicone oil in the hole and one little tiny drop up here, just because I want it to be able to spin freer and I don't want the friction to risk breaking off that little piece. Now that moves much, much better. It just slides. Now it's not creating friction. It's not going to break your piece. Then we'll go ahead and put the little barrel on there. And again, now you can see that spins pretty freely. And it fits up inside of the mechanism a lot better too. All right, so all that's left to do now is to glue the handle on. And the handle just holds on up here, so we're just gonna put a little bit of glue down in these little top holes right here. And put a little bit of glue right here on the front. And now we're gonna marry these two pieces together forever after. All right, there you have it, guys. The Duke MK.44 completely assembled. It's got a little switch here on the side that you just bend down. It's like a little prong that 3D printed that allows the barrel to come out so that you can put your ammunition in. And then that just locks back up into place, and it grabs it, and you're good to go.
Probably shouldn't point guns at my face. Pew 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 pew.
Boom! Boom! That is too cool. All right, guys, well, there you have it. The Duke MK.44 from Destiny Hand Cannon. This thing turned out absolutely badass. The only thing that I would have changed is, I told you guys to use hot glue earlier. Hopefully you're not following along as an instructional video, because I would not recommend using hot glue. The reason being is it created some gaps. When the glue dried, it expanded and it kind of pushed some things apart. Still fits together really good, still feels incredibly solid. I just would use something like super glue or epoxy. The defining feature of this model is that you can pull this little flap up a little and the barrel falls out and you can get the ammunition out of it, change it, and put it back in. It locks into place like a real revolver. I thought that was really cool. Now, one other little problem I had is when I scaled this down to 90%, I noticed that the little sights up here at the top, they're a little bit broken, and there's supposed to be little ribs on the barrel, and the little ribs on the barrel actually came off when I was cleaning the material up, just because they were so thin. They were already about as thin as you'd want to go at 100% scale. So when I scaled it down, I did have those little problems. But aside from that, I think it turned out absolutely amazing. I think even at 90%, it fits your hand really well. And I'm actually thinking about 3D printing a second one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please check out myminifactory.com. It's a really great place if you're looking for 3D models. And if you're a 3D modeler, you're probably gonna like that site because it allows you to get your creations out there. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Also, come over to Twitter. I'm at Barnacules. I'm a pretty social guy. And if it's not too much trouble and you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. It helps me out a lot. Now I just gotta wait for the damn game to come out at midnight so I can go and play it and use the real Mark 44.
Pew, 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 pew.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also, come over to Twitter. I'm at Barnacules. I'm a real social guy. Also, if you have a couple of minutes, check out some of these many other videos. I made them myself.